everybody, it's Joe here and welcome to another of our special summer episodes. This week we are hearing Anthony's story. He is the producer of The Big Man Up Top and the man responsible for making Ed and I sound moderately professional. We're about to hear his story of faith, what football means to him, and at the end there's some really good chat about why he is passionate about this podcast. So I hope you enjoy.
Producer Anthony, welcome to The Big Man Up Top.
Hello, it's good to be on the microphone again.
I know, yeah. It's a rare occurrence, but I think everyone's in agreement that when it happens, it's a wonderful thing.
Yes.
So thank you very much for sitting in the hot seat this week. We're going to hear a little bit about your story. We've had Joe, we've had myself being scrutinised.
Yeah.
And now it's time for your go. How are you feeling about that?
Oh, very nervous, very nervous.
Very nervous. Okay. Well, let's start with football. You are a Man United fan for your sins.
Yeah, pretty much.
Tell us about where did that come from? What's your story? What's your football story, and how that led you to be a fan of the Red Devils?
Well, I guess I should say, like any good Man United fan, I am from the South Coast.
Yeah, good. Good. I like that.
No, basically, I don't come from a footballing family at all. The rest of my family is all much more into tennis. But ever since a young age, I've just been obsessed with football. And it probably started with World Cup Italia 90.
Wow, goodness.
And I don't remember any of the games. I don't even know if I was allowed to stay up to watch the games because I would have been 6. But I remember having the wall chart on my wall.
It's the start for everybody.
Yeah.
My daughter's going through it at the moment. You know, the previous Women's World Cup, she had the wall chart, and that's how she fell in love with it. It's like, right, I need to find out, what the score was between New Zealand and, some random Eastern European team.
Like, my earliest clear memories was being really excited that England were playing Cameroon.
Right.
And I think ever since then, just obsessed. But of course, like, growing up, not being from a football family, they're never going to take me to games. But as I get old enough to like 8, 9 years old, they're going to let me watch maybe the first game on Match of the Day on a Saturday evening. And so I would just follow whoever the first team that played was. And United were one of the biggest teams, so usually it was Man United. And just fell in love with like guys like Ryan Giggs, Andre Kanchelskis, Eric Cantona, and like all these people who were just like so good at what they do.
So that's amazing that you've grown up, without putting too fine a point on it. Your age, Anthony, is that you, as you're getting into football, is the beginning of the Premier League era, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you sort of remember about that time? Not just Man United, but what do you remember about that time early on in the sort of Premier League era?
There's lots of little snippets. So there's like Wimbledon, the Crazy Gang, like just everyone being so obsessed with how crazy they were. And I would watch them and just see them kicking lumps out of people and be like, yeah, that's fun, but not exactly what I want to see. I remember how obsessed everyone was with wingers and people who could dribble well. And I think we're starting to see that again now. It's kind of looped all the way back to people being obsessed with dribblers again, which I'm perfectly okay with.
There was a whole thing as well. What I love about the 90s, and this is the kind of thing that I feel like Joe maybe misses out on being a little younger, is I just remember that you could tell exactly, in a second, you could tell what ground a game was taking place because of the way the stands were, the goal nets were different, the camera angles were all different, and all of that, and there was a real sense of, some of the pitches were grim and some were lush and green, and so you have this thing of like, when you went away to another team, it actually really mattered. Like you got used to playing at your home stadium, your home pitch, and all of that, and it was familiar. And I feel like maybe now, sort of starting in the mid 2000s onwards, was football becoming more and more uniform looking. And I just have this, I have lovely memories of watching the Premier League in like the mid 90s and seeing like those sort of square nets at Southampton and and stuff like that.
Yeah, the only game I ever went to as a kid was a friend from church. his father was a massive Southampton fan. So he was like, one evening he was like, I've got tickets for, I think it was Southampton versus Huddersfield in the League Cup
Right.
on like a Wednesday evening. And I think, if I remember correctly, Southampton won 4-0 with Matt Letizia scoring all 4 of the goals.
Sounds about right.
And 3 of them were at the wrong end for where we were sat, so didn't even really see it. But the Dell was such a tight little stadium. You felt so close to the pitch, even if you weren't. Like you said, the square nets of the goals, like everything just felt a little bit dingy, a little bit grimy, but you still loved it because what was going on the pitch was magic, even in a random League Cup game.
So you started off by saying that, like every Man United fan, you're from the South Coast. Tell us about that. Tell us about your upbringing, where you were from, and what else was going on in your life as a child.
I was a very happy-go-lucky kid, kind of off in my own world most of the time. Really lovely parents. They ran summer camps, like Christian summer camps, which was like a big part of my upbringing. Like every year we would take the 30-minute drive out to this camp field, set up all the tents, then another 60, 70 other kids would come for a week.
So this explains why you were so good at camping at the gathering. When Joe and I were floundering, it was great to have you there. But it turns out there's some actual experience behind it.
Yeah, and I haven't been camping for years now, but like all my summer was going to this camp, playing table tennis, listening about God, and just having a great time with people that I would get to know for a week and then maybe not see again for a year, but you come back the next year and remember them.
So obviously, growing up in a Christian household like that, that's then had an impact on, your faith. And I think every kid gets to that age, maybe somewhere between 10 and 13, where they're starting to try and work it out for themselves. What did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think having all these positive influences on me from a young age just meant that I was able to really just learn about Jesus, learn about God very naturally. Like everything about the Christian faith, everything about being involved in ministry just came naturally to me from a very young age. And I can't really say that there was a very specific moment where I'd say, oh, this is where I became a Christian, because I was never given any reason to disbelieve or never given any reason to rebel against my family, to the people I was around. So I just accepted it and really took it on just throughout the years. And
so fast forward a few years later, how has that sort of early Christian upbringing then shaped the sort of next part of your life? I always think that there's sort of a few crucial life decision moments, and one is then, in your sort of late primary school sort of age, and then another one is when you're sort of getting into your late teens. So that's the moment where you're picking careers and all of that sort of stuff. So how did your faith have an impact on your life direction at that point?
I would say I just kind of drifted through university. I had the Christian faith, but I didn't really enjoy university. I kind of got bored of education and was like, I need to do something. But I thought that something was just going to be, I'll just get a job doing web design or something. And then I've enjoyed doing ministry in the past, but I'll just go and get a normal job and live a normal life. And then about 6 months after I left university, I was working on my portfolio while working part-time in a local school. And I just got this call from God essentially to go into the missions field.
I think a lot of listeners would say, what does that sound like? What does that feel like, a call from God?
For me personally, it was one of the very few times where I can honestly say I felt like an audible voice from God. And I was praying about what I would do with my future. And every time I went to pray, I would just hear the word doulos, which is the name of used to be the name of a ship run by Operation Mobilization, the Christian ministry. And for about maybe 3 months, every time I went to pray, I would just hear this word.
And had you heard of this word before?
Yeah, I 4 or 5 years before the ship had come to visit. So I'd had a tour of the ship. I knew what it was, but forgotten about it for years.
Was this because of because you grew up on the south coast? Is that's the ship came
near
it
just
your
happened
hometown?
it just happened to stop by to do. It was doing a recruiting tour then, I think, but like this was, like I said, years before I even thought about it again.
And so, what happens then? I'm assuming you find yourself on Doulos.
Yeah, so basically, I've been praying about my future. Every time was like this word. So I did a Gideon, essentially, and said to God, okay, you need to prove this then. I'm giving you one chance. I'm going to go on the website for the organization, and I'm not a person that can work in an engine room. I'm not a person that can be cleaning ships. I have a set of skills that I've been learning in video production, in animation, all that kind of thing. So if you want me to go on this ministry, there needs to be a job for me. And I'm going to go on this one day. If there's a job there, I will apply for it. But if there isn't, I'm never looking at it again. And obviously, I went and looked on the website. The job was there. I applied for it. 6 months later, I'm traveling to Hong Kong to join up with the ship.
Did you give God, did you give him a lead time to make that miracle happen? Or did you say, I'm going on this website right now?
I said, I'm doing it tomorrow.
Right. I love that. God's like, come on, I've got to, there's paperwork that's got to be filed, before we make this happen. So what was the job that was?
It was the job of videographer. It was, in fact, the first time on that ship that they had made the videographer a full-time position. And it was the first time that they had let someone join the ship to immediately be videographer.
Wow.
So normally they want you to work for a year in the engine room or somewhere before they let you take on that job.
Which you were not interested in.
I was not interested in doing at all. And when I applied, they warned me multiple times, you may still have to go and work in the engine room even though you've applied for this role. And apparently someone had made the decision a month or two before I applied that, oh no, we'll let someone come and join immediately to do this role.
So tell us about the experience of going out on the ship. What is that like?
It was life-changing. I think that's the only way to describe it. Everything that happens on the ship, the good and the bad, is amplified to 11. If you think of the Spinal Tap terms, everything's turned up to 11. And I loved 90% of it, hated 10% of it.
Yeah.
But that 10% I hated, I realized was so much more about myself than about anything that was particularly happening that was done to me.
Okay, so let's start with, I'm obviously going to be asking about the 10 and the 90.
Yeah.
So let's start with the 10. What were the difficult moments?
It was so cramped. It was a 94-year-old ship. It was in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest ocean-going passenger ship at the time. No modern ship would have been allowed to be made that way because it was so full of wood and it was liable to set on fire. And it was
Sounds great.
It wasn't comfortable living by any means. And for the first year, I wasn't working in the engine room, but my bed was right next to the engine room. So it affected my hearing a little bit. But everyone on board knew why they were there. And yes, there were arguments because it was such a cramped space. Yes, there was people who got annoyed and people who got fed up of being there, but we all still knew the reason why we were there. We all still there for the ministry.
Well, so tell me about the 90% then. What was really amazing and life-changing about this experience?
It put me in a position where I had to grow up. I think for a lot of people, you're kind of able to just meander a little bit through life. And that's what I was doing. When I left university, I was very much meandering through life. And then I just made a commitment to be okay, I have to do something where I've got to grow up. I've got to take my faith seriously. I've got to take my life seriously. And I've got to be there for friends and people I care about on the ship as well, because we're all in this situation where things aren't necessarily easy, but we're doing something for God. We're doing something for a ministry that we all really believe in. And so the way it changed my life and the way it made me want to look at ministry in a new way and look at friendships in a new way and look at just how we all live under God in a new way, like I said, it's life-changing, and it's very hard to put into words exactly why it's so good, but when people have experienced that, they immediately know what it is.
Yeah, I think having been on mission myself in a completely different way, I know what you mean. Is that thing of, you feel like you start to see a bit of why the church was created, and it's that thing of, okay, this is it.
Yeah.
This is how we're supposed to live in a way that is entirely reliant on our brothers and sisters in Christ, and all of that sort of stuff. So for anyone who doesn't know about OM ships and OM missions and all of that, what was the actual sort of mission that you guys were on? Really, you're on this ship, but what's it going out to do?
So the mission of the ships is like a slight subset of OM in general. So OM is very focused on supporting local churches, helping to plant new churches in countries, and just evangelism. The way the ships did that was through literacy development. Both of the ships that they have now and the ships that they had back then, they have floating bookstores, about 50% Christian, 50% non-Christian. So there'll be like cookbooks and teaching books and things like that as well. It's really interesting to see the way that it works, because often you would think, well, if you're just selling books, you're not really doing that much to help the Christian vision. But actually what you're doing is letting people see Christians as normal people, letting people see Christians as people who just want to help. And that was a large part of it. It's been the ship's tagline for a long time, is bringing knowledge, help, and hope to the world. And that is a real key emphasis, is that we're not just being Christians by telling people about Jesus, we're being Christians by showing them the love of Jesus.
Absolutely. How long were you on the seas for?
So I was with OM for a total of 10 years, 2 spells of 5 years. And in each of those 2 spells, I did a 2.5-year spell on one of the ships.
Wow. 2.5 years.
2.5, it was like bookending. So I started 2.5 years on Doulos, and then I finished my time with OM 2.5 years on Logos Hope.
Goodness me. The most important question is, are you able to watch football on a ship?
Oh.
Or did you just have 2.5 years of not watching Man United when they were probably at their worst?
Yeah. No. So the first time round, I missed the 2008-2009 Champions League final, was it?
Oh, gosh, goodness
Manchester
me.
United v Chelsea?
Yeah.
So I never saw that game. Even to this day, I've still only seen a few highlights of it. The second time round in 2016, they were able to get a connection to show the World Cup games live.
Okay.
It was 2016?
2018?
2018, yeah, 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah, they showed the World Cup live, the World Cup final live for that. And when we were in port, we were able to get an aerial connection to watch some of the other games as well.
That's good. I'm glad you were able to see some football on your travels. Just as we bring this into land, we've absolutely, you're such a valued member of the Big Man Up Top team. Joe and I could not do what we do without you and without your input. What is it that has sort of excited you about this project specifically as part of your work, your wider work here at UCB? What is it that has interested you, excited you about the Big Man Up Top?
I think everything I've seen in terms of ministry is all around the world. People who are invested in the local culture really make a bigger difference. So for us as British people, if you're invested as a Christian in football, you have that instant connection to people. For someone who's, say, in the Philippines, that may be basketball instead, that has that connection, or cooking, or something else. But for us to be real people and real Christians, that's what really shows, tells, creates that connection with someone else. You can't just go out to someone and say, hey, you've got to believe in Jesus. You need to build up that relationship with them first. They need to know that you're a sensible person who isn't just going to be shouting at them. And then you can create that connection. So a really good example of that is about 12, 13 years ago, I was in Lebanon on a filming trip, and it was right as the Arab Spring was starting. So we were really quite nervous, because it was literally, we flew into Lebanon and then the Arab Spring started, not before. We were really going as we were there. So we would walk past like these protests on the street that were just starting because it was happening in the neighboring country. And one day I was out filming and I got separated from the other two guys I was with, and this group of guys just came up to me, and it was like 6 of them and 1 of me, and they were like, "Where are you from?" I was like, "I'm from England." And they were like, Wayne Rooney. And immediately the tone of the conversation changed.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were from Iran, it turned out. And of course I can't then go and preach the gospel to them, but immediately I could see, we're from completely different places, but football has allowed us to change the conversation, to take something that could have been a little difficult into something that's really, really simple to just start talking with them. I ended up taking photos with them. I ended up just having a really nice discussion with them for like 5-10 minutes. And we said our goodbyes, went on our way. And although I didn't get to talk to them about Jesus, I got to talk to them in a way that made me realize, hey, that's a better connection to start with someone. And then hopefully down the line for other people, I'll be able to build that connection to something I can talk about Jesus with them.
That is a lovely note to end it on. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your heart, and sharing your talents with us here on the Big Man Up Top.
Thank you so much.
Great chat there with producer Anthony, and it's great to hear his story. As always, we are super grateful to him for all the work he puts in behind the scenes to make this podcast what it is. That's it for another episode, but keep your eyes peeled for some more summer content coming your way as we build up to the new season, and please get involved again on our social media and our YouTube channel at Big Man Up Top Pod. See you later.